My brother, his classmate, her parents filed a lawsuit against him. I'm his sister, the older one, the kind who's been closing doors behind him his whole life after he slams them shut. So when I got the call and heard that my brother was being sued, I didn't even ask why. I asked how bad. Because when it's him, it's always bad. Or at least, that's what I believed back then. He's a student. Quiet. Always stuck in his own head. The type who doesn't argue, doesn't push, doesn't take up space. And somehow, it's always guys like that who end up being blamed when grown adults decide to play victims. A classmate, an adult woman, not a kid, not a minor. University halls, cheap coffee, boring lectures, normal life. And then, a lawsuit. Paperwork. Language so dramatic you'd think he robbed a church instead of sleeping with another adult. I read it and felt the anger rising. At him. Because it's easy to be angry at your own. Because it's familiar. I already saw the whole scene. Me in court, apologizing for his silence, burning with secondhand shame. Him sitting there with his eyes down, like he always does when older people start pressing in. And in that moment, I hated him. Not for what he did, but for being weak. For making me be loud again instead of him. When I asked him straight up, "Are you actually that stupid?" He didn't even flinch. Just said, "I'm not going to apologize for something that was consensual." And that's when something clicked. Because guilty people don't talk like that. After that conversation, the apartment went quiet. Not calm, heavy. The kind of silence that presses on your ears. I was used to him joking things away, dodging questions, agreeing just to make it stop. But this time, no. He dropped one sentence and shut down, like he'd put a period at the end and handed me the rest. I started digging. Not because I trusted him, because blind disbelief is also my habit. I remembered the classmate. I'd seen her a couple of times at shared hangouts. Put together. Calm. Direct gaze. Not someone you can easily pressure. Not someone who looks lost or manipulable. And definitely not someone whose parents should be running to court like the house is on fire. But the parents ran. Hard. They didn't call, didn't text, didn't try to talk. They went straight to official mode. Paperwork, lawyers, language that makes you want to scream. Her voice wasn't there at all. Only theirs. Only, we believe, we are certain, our daughter. Like she wasn't a person, just a disputed object. That wasn't even what pissed me off the most. What pissed me off was that my brother was still silent. "Why did you even get involved with her?" I asked. He shrugged. "Because she wanted to. And I wanted to." Simple. No excuses. No attempt to look better than he was. And somehow that made me even angrier. Because if he wasn't lying, then this whole story stopped being about an idiot brother and started being about something much dirtier. The trial was set for a week later. I thought I'd be furious, stressed, pacing helplessly. But when we walked into the courtroom, I felt something else. The absurdity of it all. The classmates' parents sat there with faces like they were saving the world from disaster. And him? He just sat. Quiet. Staring at the walls. No defenders. No excuses. Nothing. And that, again, pissed me off. The lawyers started reading their papers, one after another, every word treated like it mattered more than human logic. Moral damage, reputation undermined, unacceptable influence on the future. I scoffed in my head, like she wasn't an adult woman, but some project he had broken. I wanted to jump up, scream, "She agreed! She's an adult! What are you doing?" But I held back. My role now: observe, note, silently comment. At first it hurt. Then, it got funny. Because watching grown-ups legally try to punish another adult for their own choices is a circus. And I was the only one who realized my brother wasn't an idiot at all. And I also realized that he knows how to be silent in a way that makes his words a weapon. Not mine, not the parents', but his. And the less he speaks, the more pressure falls on everyone else. And in that strange state, I started noticing details. How she looked at her parents, how they carefully chose each word, how the lawyer winked at the judge, trying to add drama. And I realized one thing. This isn't about my brother. It's about who controls the situation, and who plays the victim for power. The trial was just starting, and I already wanted to fucking tear this whole shit show apart. The classmates' parents launched into their speech, eyes blazing like they were saving humanity from my brother. My fists clench. Inside, everything's boiling. "This young man exerted a moral corruption on our daughter," the mom screamed, voice like a chainsaw. "Are you serious?" I hear the judge, barely holding back irritation. My brother sits there, quiet as a mouse. And I think, oh fuck, if he started talking, I'd probably cry and smash this whole shit to pieces. The lawyer continues. "His actions caused moral damage to our family." I'm laughing inside. She's an adult. She agreed. Are they living in another fucking reality? Listen, I tell myself. I know you want to see my brother as an idiot, but the fact is, you chose to enter this circus instead of talking to an adult. The mother acts like she can't hear me. The father clenches his fists so tight I know the next mod argument is about to fly, and it all looks like a farce, everyone thinking they control the situation. But really, they're just blowing hot air. My brother smirks slightly, quietly, and that smirk, it's like salt in the wound, because I realize he's not touched by this circus at all. He knows all this shit is their F-up, not ours. And then it hit full speed. The judge asks my brother directly, "Do you understand that a lawsuit has been filed against you?" He shrugs slightly. "I understand." Silence fills the room, like the air itself has thickened. My skin crawls. The classmates' parents flush red. The lawyer tries to sound serious, but it's failing miserably. "Do you admit guilt?" the judge asks again. My brother slowly lifts his gaze, and I see it. No panic, no fear, just that damn calm arrogance that annoys more than any shout ever could. "No." Short. It was mutual. At that moment, I feel like the whole room explodes. Not loud, but everyone gets it. Their whole case just went to hell. The parents flinch, the lawyer loses track, the judge frowns. And my brother just sits there like he said the most ordinary thing in the world, when really, it's a total gut punch to all their moral rules. I almost laugh, but I hold it in. All these years I thought he was an idiot, mindless, and now he just proved he can stand quietly and flip the entire game with one sentence. And I realize I'm looking at him, and for the first time I see not a brother who messes up, but someone who knows how to control the situation with silence. And in that moment, I start to feel a thrill. Yes, a thrill watching their faces turn red, seeing their plan collapse. That was the final blow, I think. They didn't expect an adult to say no and actually mean it. "So you're claiming that everything happened with mutual consent?" The judge's exhaustion is clear. "Yes," my brother answers. "She wanted it, I wanted it, that's it, and that's it." The room jolts, like someone yanked a cord. The classmates' parents freeze. The lawyer starts flapping, like a cockroach under a spotlight. I stand there thinking, you actually brought this to court over the personal choice of two adults? The mother glares like she wants to burn him with her eyes. The father clenches his fists, as if raw force could rewrite reality. And my brother just sits there, calm. No excuses, no begging, nothing. And that pisses them off more than anything. I feel a strange thrill. Every single argument they try collapses before it even lands. They came to press down, and they hit silence. Then I notice her. She's standing behind her parents. Quiet. But the corner of her mouth lifts slightly. Not a smile. A signal. Small, but precise. And in that moment, it hits me. All this time, I thought my brother was guilty. But the real fools are the people who thought they could control someone else's life through a courtroom. And now their perfect order is starting to crack. And then she says it. A small voice that rips through the room. It was mutual. Silence. Complete. Like the air got stuck in everyone's throat. The parents nearly fall off their chairs. The lawyer starts flipping through papers like a maniac. The judge furrows his brow like he's trying to decide if he can even keep breathing. I stand there and realize this whole story isn't about my brother or her parents. It's about people who want to control someone else's life and get hit with the full force of their own asshole energy. My brother smirks quietly, calm. He doesn't say a word, but that sentence, it's like a fucking nightmare for their plans. I finally see he's not an idiot. He just let the situation play out itself. She gives a tiny smirk behind her parents. A small victory. A little middle finger. And I get it. All these lawsuits, all the papers, all their pomp. Just garbage that falls flat when reality hits. And I feel the schadenfreude. That thrill of knowing you watched them build their perfect drama and it crumbled with a single word. There it is, I think. Fucking chaos complete. But we won. The parents lost it. Total meltdown. Mom jerks like she's been electrocuted. Dad clenches his fists so hard his nails dig into his palms. The lawyer stands there like an idiot, trying to figure out where all their grand strategy went. "This is impossible," the mom screams. "She told us that." "She's an adult," the judge interrupts cold, "and can speak for herself." The room seems to shrink. I stand next to him, quietly laughing, because I get it. Their entire so-called greatness is crumbling, and they brought it on themselves. Every argument, empty noise. All the moral horror, all the morale damage, it just falls into nothing when reality hits. My brother sits calm. No fear, no excuses. Just silence and a smile. Small, quiet, like a shock to the system. It says more than words ever could. I glance at the classmate. She smirks slightly. Zero fear. Just a challenge. And at that moment, I realize their control was destroyed with a single word. One word. And I feel the thrill. Not from my brother winning, but from seeing people who tried to manipulate and control get hit full force. Total fucking chaos, I think. And let them know. No one replaces adults' own choices with their control. The parents nearly turned gray on the spot. Dad red as a tomato, eyes like saucers, Mom twitching like she's been shocked. The lawyer scrambles through papers, but already knows. Their whole strategy just fucked up. The judge closes the folder and says, "Case dismissed. No grounds." And that's it. Pomp, threats, moral hysteria, bam, on the floor. The parents stand there, idiots, trying to mumble something, but no words come out. They thought they could control the situation, and instead, they got hit full force. I look at my brother. Silence, a smirk, complete calm. He didn't speak, didn't apologize, and it crushed them harder than any yelling could. The classmate smirked slightly behind her parents. Small revenge, tiny but precise. And I realize they thought they could intimidate adults through a court, but everything collapsed with a single word. I stand there, feeling both schadenfreude and thrill. All these years I thought my brother was an idiot, and now he just let everything fall apart naturally, and their pompous drama blew up in their own faces. There it is, I think. Fked chaos complete, but we won, and now it's over. The judge has left, the lawyer dragged the parents out of the room, muttering, red-faced, shaking. We stand next to my brother, and for the first time I see him real. Calm, no one pressing, no one controlling. I realize, this whole circus, all their attempts to manipulate, all that fucked up nonsense, collapsed. They thought they could replace adults with their rules, and we just let reality speak for itself. The classmate nods at my brother. No pride, no dramatics, just a tiny signal. We're equal. And I feel it. Tiny victory. They thought they could treat us like idiots, and now we're laughing at their plans. I look at my brother. He smirks quietly. Calm, and I realize he's not an idiot. He just let it all fall apart, and that's his power. I feel my voice returning. The right to be too much. The right to laugh at someone else's arrogance. The right to be chaotic, alive, loud. He thought he could replace me quietly, I think. But we made sure we can never be forgotten. And this moment, Fked chaos complete, but we're on top. Everything collapses around us, and we stand there, laughing, free. I was chaos, too loud, too bright, too alive. Rooms dimmed when I entered. My laughter broke walls. My movements spilled over edges. He watched quietly, beige, calm, ordered, like a lock in the middle of my storm. I thought safety meant protection. I was wrong. Chains don't rattle, they wait. And I was about to strike. I was chaos, noise, color spilling into rooms made for beige. My laughter echoed too loud, my movements too fast. People warned me I was too much. I never listened, I never slowed. I painted walls with my energy, left fingerprints on furniture, left traces in people's thoughts. He watched quietly, beige, ordered, calm, like a lock in the middle of my storm. I mistook calm for safety. I didn't see chains. He never raised his voice. He didn't need to. Silence can bind tighter than screams. I thought I anchored him. I thought safety meant protection. But safety can suffocate. Every time I moved, he adjusted. Every sentence I spoke, he summarized. Every chaotic gesture I made, he contained. I began to shrink without noticing. My colors dimmed under his eyes. My noise quieted. My pulse slowed to match his schedule. I counted seconds between my laughter and his sighs. He called it balance. I called it survival. I didn't fight. I waited, quietly, observing, calculating. Because chaos never disappears. It waits for the right moment to strike. He never chased me. He didn't need to. I arrived chaotic, alive, loud. He observed, calm, neutral, like a stone in a river of fire. I mistook stillness for stability. I mistook order for trust. He remembered everything. Birthdays I forgot, secrets I buried, scars I never showed. He cataloged me, quietly, efficiently, like a system noting flaws. I spoke, he summarized. I laughed, he paused. I existed, he contained. Every glance measured, every gesture noted. I shrank without realizing. Silence became obedience. Calm became control. I stopped spilling over. I stopped coloring rooms. I stopped moving fast. I spoke in bullet points. I apologized before speaking. I edited chaos into neat lines. I believed it was love. I believed it was care. But care doesn't measure every heartbeat. Chains are invisible when they feel like patience. I counted my own restraints, each breath calculated, each pause rehearsed. I tested my freedom. He never noticed. He never needed to. I waited, learning, observing, planning. Because the moment I finally exploded, he wouldn't see it coming. I began to shrink, slowly, quietly. Colors faded from my wardrobe. Loud laughter became whispers. Stories I loved telling shortened, clipped, rehearsed. Every movement measured. Every word weighed. Chaos became a secret. He never commanded. He never yelled. He didn't need to. The rules were invisible, internalized, etched into my bones. I adjusted my energy to his calm, my pulse to his pace, my voice to his quiet. I learned to fold myself small, almost invisible. I apologized before mistakes. I predicted discomfort and corrected it preemptively. I stopped arguing. I stopped overflowing. I stopped existing fully. I counted pauses between his words, studied his silences, navigated his neutral expressions. Friends noticed my dimming light. Family noticed I laughed less. He noticed, smiled, approved. Every time I complied, the room felt safer. Every time I shrank, he reinforced control. I thought this was love. I thought balance meant survival. But survival under chains is not freedom. And chaos, my chaos, was not gone. It waited, patient, hidden, calculating. For the moment I would strike back, and I knew I would. Schedules replaced spontaneity. Rituals became prisons disguised as comfort. I woke, dressed, moved, spoke according to invisible rules. Every gesture measured, every step predicted. Chaos became silent, carefully hidden. He never told me the rules. He didn't need to. I learned them by observing, by counting, by shrinking. Emails timed, meals prepared on schedule, conversations scripted. I walked through my own life like a ghost, ghosting myself. Even laughter became deliberate. Patterns formed chains, each day repeated. I noticed the small betrayals first, glances he thought I missed, messages deleted, subtle touches she shared. Childhood friend. She knew me. She knew every scar, every secret, every insecurity. And he exploited it. I watched without acting. I cataloged, recorded, memorized. My heart pulsed quietly, each beat a countdown. Micro hits landed silently, moments of betrayal, micro tremors I stored like ammunition. He controlled routine, I controlled observation. I was patient, waiting for the fracture, the crack, the precise moment to detonate. Every rule he created became a tool, every habit a weapon. I was chaos folded neatly, waiting for the perfect explosion. He cheated, childhood friend. She knew my scars, my weaknesses, every broken piece I hid. He smiled at her like he never smiled at me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I counted. I cataloged. Evidence stacked silently in my mind. Texts deleted, meetings hidden, whispers behind closed doors. Each detail a micro hit, stabbing, precise. I imagined their laughter, felt the weight of their secret. He thought it was harmless. He thought I wouldn't notice. He was wrong. Every memory of his calm, beige self twisted into contempt. I waited, observing, calculating. Every step I had ever shrunk for now fed me. Every controlled breath became fuel. I plotted with precision, no chaos wasted, no energy spent on futile rage. He gave me his patterns. She gave me her presence. Together, they delivered every opportunity for revenge. I didn't act yet. I let the anger simmer. I let the anticipation sharpen. Every second, every micro moment was mine. He thought he could break me quietly. He thought he had control. He had handed me the weapon. I watched silently, collected details, emails, receipts, subtle slips he thought I missed. Each piece a thread, each thread a trap. I cataloged his movements, her presence, his complacency. Timing became weapon, precision became shield. Every meeting he scheduled, every call he hid, every glance she thought private, I memorized. I traced patterns like a map to destruction. Micro hits pulsed in my mind. The way he leaned in too close, the way she laughed knowing secrets. I didn't speak. I didn't act. I observed. I waited. Each heartbeat sharpened my edge. I planned sequences. Who would see what, when, how. The office, the clients, the social circle. The smallest slip would trigger dominoes. Every controlled habit he built became my instrument. I rehearsed in silence, exposure, timing, reactions, my chaos, folded neatly, now precise. I waited for perfect alignment. I imagined him realizing too late. I imagined the public fracture. I imagined her silence shattered, and me, finally, fully, alive, untamed, uncontrollable. He thought he was safe. He wasn't, and I would make sure everyone saw it. I chose the day carefully, a meeting he couldn't miss, a room full of order, suits, confidence, routine, his kingdom. I didn't rush. I placed evidence gently, like decorations, emails printed, timelines aligned, screens mirrored. I spoke calmly, soft voice, no emotion wasted. Every sentence landed like a blade, micro hit after micro hit. Pauses did the damage, eyes shifted, breaths changed. His smile froze. I watched it crack. Someone asked a question. I answered with facts. Another asked. I showed timestamps. The room turned cold. Reputation began to bleed quietly. I never raised my voice. I never looked at him. He tried to interrupt. I continued. Control slipped from his hands in real time. Patterns betrayed him. Rules exposed him. His system collapsed under its own weight. She wasn't there. She didn't need to be. Her role was already finished. I ended with silence. Let it stretch. Let it burn. Then I left. Calm, centered, complete. Chaos walking away in perfect control. They thought it was over. It wasn't. I came back with one file. Thicker. He went pale before I spoke. Numbers don't lie. They just wait. I exposed side accounts, quiet transfers, favors traded for silence, policies bent, ethics trimmed, order used as camouflage. Each page landed harder than the last. I watched faces change, trust rot in real time. Someone whispered his name, not kindly. He tried to explain. I didn't let him. Facts don't need permission. I let the room read him instead. His control turned against him. His rules became evidence. Every shortcut surfaced. Every small exception multiplied. The system he worshipped devoured him. I stayed still. I stayed sharp. No anger, no tears. Just precision. I didn't accuse. I revealed. That was worse. When it ended, no one looked at him. They looked at the table, at the papers, at the truth. I closed the folder. Soft sound. Final. I nodded once and walked out. The office emptied. I walked through halls I had once shrunk in. Silence followed me like applause. Colors returned to my wardrobe. Chaos returned to my steps. Every laugh now measured only by me. I moved fast again. I filled rooms with noise, energy, life I had stored for this moment. He was gone. His system collapsed, his orders meaningless. People whispered. Eyes followed me. Some feared me. Some admired me. I didn't care. I cared only for myself. The friend vanished. She had no place in the aftermath. The weight I carried for months lifted in one explosive sweep. My voice returned. My pulse returned. My decisions belonged to me again. I didn't apologize. I didn't explain. I existed fully. The world adjusted to me, not the other way around. I was too much again, alive again, unstoppable again. I waited for no one. I answered to no one. Chaos had returned, and this time it was mine entirely. He thought he could replace me quietly. Thought chaos could be contained. Thought silence meant control. He underestimated me. Every plan he made, every rule he set, every calculation he trusted, crumbled. I stood where he once ruled, unshaken, unbroken. My presence filled the room like stormlight. No apology needed, no explanation required. People remembered every misstep he tried to hide, every secret he thought safe. I didn't need witnesses. The truth carried itself. She disappeared, erased from the equation. His face told me everything: shock, fear, disbelief. I smiled briefly, because he knew he had lost more than I had ever lost. My voice, my chaos, my life, reclaimed fully, entirely. I moved forward, untouchable, untamed. My laughter returned louder than ever. Every step echoed freedom. Every word became micro-hit in the world that had once caged me. He thought he would erase me quietly. He failed, completely. And I left behind a trail he and everyone else could never forget. I was too much. I was chaos. I was alive. And I was unforgettable. He did it with my sister. At the moment when I was pregnant, he knew exactly how much it would hurt me. He knew, and still chose her. He thought I would break, but I didn't. I took that pain, turned it around, and aimed it straight at him. And everything he thought was his life stopped belonging to him. He betrayed me, calmly, right in front of my eyes like I was just furniture. She was there. His gaze changed the moment she entered the room. I saw it. I heard every promise he was breaking at the exact second he turned toward her. I was screaming inside, but I stayed silent. He thought I wouldn't notice. I noticed everything. Every whisper, every hidden gesture, every secret built on my trust. And the girl he chose over me wasn't a stranger. She was close. Too close. I watched him smile at her in a way he never smiled at me. That's when I knew this wasn't an accident. Not a weak moment. It was a pattern. A strategy. He was tearing me apart slowly, testing how much betrayal I would swallow, how quiet I would stay. I refused to become small. I refused to disappear. I memorized everything. Every look. Every lie. Every moment he chose her instead of me. That's when I stopped reacting and started planning. I decided to take back control. To turn the chaos he created into a weapon. To make him lose everything he thought he owned. I started collecting evidence, not excuses. I stopped asking questions and started watching. His phone, his pauses, his lateness. It all formed a clear line. He came home and lied to my face, calmly, without shaking. Then he went where he was expected, without shame. I recognized her immediately, not by name, by audacity. By the way she looked at me, knowing more than she should. They thought I was stupid, that I was distracted, that I wouldn't piece it together. But I did. Dates, messages, meetings, patterns that aren't coincidences. He ate my dinner while texting her. He held me while planning with her. Every day, a double life. And the worst part, he was convinced he was in control. That I was just background. That I could be replaced quietly, neatly, without noise. At that moment, something inside me switched off. Not pain, not pity. I stopped being wounded. I became cold. And once I realized it, I made a decision. He wouldn't leave clean. He wouldn't leave unnoticed. He would leave the way I wanted, on my terms. I stopped seeing him as a person. He became a function, a tool that would eventually break. I didn't cry anymore. I didn't question. I checked facts. I knew where he lied before he even spoke. His calm no longer worked. I saw cowardice. He wasn't choosing. He was hiding. Hiding behind smiles. Behind, "you're imagining things." Behind the habit of making me too emotional, too complicated, too inconvenient. He tried to reduce me to noise so he could appear clean. But I saw the dirt. I knew who he spent time with when he said he was tired. I knew who he texted when he turned his back to me. And every time he came back, I let him think everything was under control. It mattered. Let him feel safe. Let him relax. Let him believe I was still someone who could be fooled. But in reality, I was already counting steps. Counting days. Counting exactly how much he had to lose. And the calmer he became, the clearer I saw where to strike. I saw everything. Not suspicions. Not hints. Open betrayal. He thought I was blind. He was wrong. Every hidden call, every whispered message, every meeting he lied about cut deep. I was screaming inside, but I kept my face calm. And the moment I realized it wasn't random, that she was the one getting his attention, his trust, his lies, something snapped. Pain disappeared. Doubt disappeared. Only cold remained. I started watching, planning, marking every move he made. He had no idea I knew. He believed he was flawless, the one in control. He was wrong. The game had already shifted. Every step he took, every excuse he offered became fuel. I watched him protect his image, build his illusion of order, smile at her in a way he never smiled at me. I memorized everything, his expressions, his gestures, every word, every touch. And then I decided, from now on, everything would happen on my terms. I wouldn't just endure this. I would retaliate. Precisely. Publicly. In a way that would make him understand that trust isn't a game, and that the chaos he created now belonged to me. I didn't explode. I waited. That mattered more than any breakdown. I let him live in the illusion that he was still in charge. He came home, repeated his familiar lines, played the role of the reliable man. I nodded, I memorized. I started using his own system against him, his order, his reputation, his fear of looking bad. I knew exactly where he was vulnerable. I knew what mattered most to him, how he appeared to others. Not love, not loyalty, image. I began pulling the levers carefully. Nothing sudden, nothing suspicious. Only precise moves. I saved messages, logged dates, connected patterns. I knew who needed to see the truth, and when, for it to hit the hardest. He still believed I knew nothing. He was wrong every single day, because every day brought him closer to the moment his world would fold inward. I didn't want to destroy him quickly. I wanted him to understand, to feel control slip from his hands, to realize his calm no longer worked, that he no longer managed me. This wasn't revenge fueled by rage. It was repayment, cold, calculated, inevitable. I chose the moment, not random, perfect, when he felt untouchable, when he was smiling, when he believed everything was under control. I delivered the truth where he felt strongest, not in the bedroom, not in the kitchen, publicly, where he was respected, where his image was armor. I spoke calmly, no yelling. The facts cut deeper than any emotion. Messages, dates, patterns no one could ignore. His face changed by the second. Confidence, confusion, anger, fear. He tried to interrupt, to joke, to turn it into personal. Didn't work. I gave him no space. Every argument I crushed with proof. Every look met with another fact. He realized, this wasn't a fight. This was exposure. His illusion of order shattered in front of the people he lived for. His calm died first. I watched him lose control, search for something to hold on to, and find nothing. In that moment, I felt silence inside myself. Not emptiness, clarity, everything aligned. And he understood. There is no going back. I knew it would be enough, but I went further. The truth had to reach the root. I involved those he always wanted to impress. His anchor, his showcase, his mother, his parents. I didn't push. I didn't accuse. I just showed. Screenshots, dates, patterns, calm, precise, no emotion. His mother watched silently. No defense, no excuses. She understood immediately. This wasn't gossip. This was fact. His face went pale. He tried to speak, but words failed him. For the first time, he saw himself from the outside. Not a hero, not reliable, not right. Just a man who destroys and hides. His father turned away. His mother no longer looked at him the way she had. And in that moment, I knew. I hit him exactly. Not in the heart. Deeper. At the foundation. The base he had stood on. I didn't enjoy it. I noted it. Because this wasn't a scandal. This was the final reckoning. He didn't just lose me. He lost his support. And I finally took myself back. Completely. He thought I was alone. That his double life was invisible. But she was there. Not as an ally, but as a mirror. The sister, the one who seemed innocent, became part of the chain I used to strike. I tracked every move he made, every moment he chose her over me. I combined facts and observations to hit with precision. He came home confident, thinking everything was under control, while I already knew chaos would fall on his face. And when everything came to light, when facts collided with reality, I watched his confidence crumble. She stayed silent. She didn't intervene, but her presence amplified the effect, making his collapse even more complete. He tried to justify himself, find someone to blame, turn it into a joke, but chaos swallowed him whole. Every move now a mistake, every glance an admission of defeat. I was no longer the victim. I became the conductor. He lost control, status, himself. And I watched everything he had built fall apart and knew I am still standing, stronger and colder than ever. He realized too late. Everything he had built crumbled instantly, like it was breaking under my hands. Every step he took, every confidence, every habit, it turned against him. I gave him no chance to justify himself. He tried to cling to the remnants of control, but there was nothing left. I showed everyone who he really was. His mother, his friends, colleagues, and she, the sister, was there, her silence amplifying the strike, making him feel how far he had fallen. He could no longer hide. His order, his structure, his calm, all transformed into chaos I was directing. I watched him tremble, try to save face, but it was already impossible. Every look around, every reaction from others, like a mirror showing his defeat. I held everything under control. I became the center of the chaos, and he knew it. He thought he could break me, replace me. I was too strong, too cold, too precise, and he saw it. Forever. He thought he could replace me quietly. He was wrong. I took everything that ever mattered to him. His reputation, his control, his image, his carefully curated illusion of power, all now belonged to me. He had no mask, no plan, no excuse left. I stood at the center of this chaos, cold, sharp, untouchable, and everyone around him saw it. She, the sister, the one who had been part of his lies, stayed silent, a shadow amplifying his collapse. His world fractured under the weight of the truth, and I was rising. I spoke directly, with precision, without a tremor, and every fact, every detail, every unspoken secret hit him like a hammer. He tried to justify, to charm, to laugh it off, but nothing worked. I was in full control. I orchestrated the chaos, timed every revelation, and watched as his pride, his fear, his fragile ego crumbled in real time. I wasn't a victim. I was the storm, the center, the energy, the chaos, the truth. I was more than he could ever comprehend, and as he stood there, stripped bare, powerless, I realized I had gained more than revenge. I had reclaimed myself, louder, stronger, unstoppable. He lost me. He lost his control. He lost the story he thought he was writing. And I walked out, radiant, untouchable, and unforgettable. I am too bright, too sharp, too real. And everyone who watches this will know I cannot be replaced. I saw them together. Him, with her, in my house, in my bed, with a smile he never gave me. Everything I thought about our life collapsed in a second, not from pain, from betrayal, from the calm with which he did it. I froze in the doorway, not weakness, silence before the strike. He thought I would break. He was wrong. I was always too loud, too alive, too me. He seemed perfect, the one who always knew what was right, who controlled everything. I thought it was safety. Then I realized it was a cage. Every move I made, he noticed. I laugh. The air tightens. I cry. Solutions come faster than warmth. He doesn't hug, doesn't ask. He organizes, silences, checks, pressures. I tried to be quiet. I adapted, changed myself, slowed my steps, lowered my voice, erased colors, hid the noise inside. But the quieter I got, the more he took. He wasn't a man. He was structure, a frame, a system I didn't fit into. Every look, every gesture, a reminder that I was too much, too loud, too emotional, too alive for his even, controlled world. And I knew he would find someone smaller, someone who would fit, who wouldn't explode when his control tightened around the throat. I knew it would happen. I didn't know it would be my stepmom. I didn't know how much it would break me until I saw it with my own eyes. I saw it by accident. He was sitting in her room with his hands on her body and the same calm, controlled expression he always had, like it was normal, like this was allowed, like he had the right, and I didn't. I froze in the doorway, and my heart stopped for a second before crashing back into my chest. The world turned into noise, every sound cutting into me, every movement burning. I wanted to scream so he would finally hear what he had done to me, but the words stayed stuck in my throat. I wanted to rush at him, break something, break them, but my legs wouldn't move. I watched him smile at her, soft and almost warm. A smile he never gave me, and that was when I understood everything. What we had was convenience and habit and structure. I was something stable. He controlled. She was something forbidden. He chose. I left without a word. I didn't cry or yell. I just started collecting everything I felt, every piece of rage, every insult, every second of humiliation he owed me. That was when I started thinking clearly about revenge, precise and public and clean, using the things he loved most: control, order, reputation. He didn't understand that chaos can be aimed, that the girl he tried to shrink could become his destruction. I decided I wouldn't just survive this. I would make sure he remembered me. Not quietly, not neatly, but in a way he could never forget. I didn't confront him. I didn't ask questions. I didn't give him a chance to lie. I watched, I listened, I remembered. He thought I was silent because I was hurt. He was wrong. I was silent because I was studying him, how he moved, when he lied, who he smiled at, what actually mattered to him. I saw his real face not when he was with me, but when he thought everything was under control. He loved order. He loved numbers. He loved when everything lined up, and he hated when someone broke the system. I started collecting his world piece by piece. Passwords, emails, messages, documents he hid, conversations he thought were safe. I wasn't looking for the truth. I was collecting weapons. Every file, every email, every name went into a system built against him. He came home calm, confident, untouched. And I already knew where he was weak. I knew who could never find out. I knew which numbers could never be said out loud. He thought I was breaking. He didn't see me assembling. I wasn't chaos anymore. I was precision, and he still thought he was in control. That was the most convenient part. I started noticing things I couldn't unsee. The smell on his clothes that didn't belong to our home. The way he showered longer and hotter, like he was trying to erase something. The way he avoided mirrors when I was in the room. She started changing too. Too much perfume, too careful with words, too polite with me. Like guilt had manners, I found traces everywhere. Receipts he forgot to delete. Messages archived but not erased. Photos cropped too late. A calendar entry marked family that was anything but. What made it worse wasn't the sex, it was the routine, the planning. The way they fit each other into the gaps of my life. He would kiss me after being with her, not knowing I could smell it, not knowing my body remembered what my brain wanted to deny. I stopped eating at home, I stopped sleeping next to him. I started waking up angry instead of sad. At night, I replayed everything. Her voice, his calm, the way they both knew I existed and did it anyway. That's when it stopped hurting and started rotting. The kind of rot that doesn't scream. It waits. I didn't want closure. I didn't want explanations. I wanted consequences. And I wanted them permanent. That's when I knew this wasn't just betrayal. It was contamination. And I was done pretending it could be cleaned quietly. I started noticing details. Not because I was looking. They just forced themselves into my face. The smell on his clothes. Someone else. Lingering. He washed it off for too long. 40-minute showers. Scalding water until steam filled the room. He came out clean. The guilt stayed. She changed too. Careful. Controlled. Every word was a needle. Every look was a warning. As if I was supposed to know and stay silent. The traces were simple. Receipts. Messages hidden in archives. Photos cropped too late. Calendar. The word family next to meetings that weren't mine. I saw it all and couldn't fix a thing. The worst wasn't the sex. The worst was the routine, the planning, the order. Time slots where they fit each other in. My life used as a backdrop. He kissed me after her. No pause, no fear, no remorse. I felt it with my body before my mind admitted it. I stopped eating at home, stopped sleeping beside him. The pain turned into anger. I was angry quietly, precisely, like a snake creeping on its prey. At night I thought, not why, but how. How to gather everything he loved and destroy it. The rot inside me was no longer hidden. It was becoming a weapon. I started acting quietly. No screaming, no warnings. I knew what mattered to him, not me. Reputation, numbers, names in emails. The calm he sold as stability. I picked the moment he thought he had control. He always relaxed when he thought I had broken. It was convenient. I sent the first email. Not an accusation, a question. Simple. With attachments. The email didn't go to him. It went somewhere questions are never asked twice. Somewhere they value order more than he does. I didn't look at the screen when I pressed send. I didn't need confirmation. I knew there was no going back. The next day he changed. He smiled too late, spoke too carefully, checked his phone more than usual. He started asking questions, not to me, to the air, to the silence. I watched his order crack, slowly, precisely, the same way he always broke me. It was only the first step. No one screamed. No one knew the whole truth. But the system was already failing, and he could feel it. I felt nothing, only clarity, and the knowledge that it would get worse. I stopped hiding, not outwardly, inside. I expanded the strike, not one address, several, not one attachment, a package, timeline, signatures, traces that couldn't be explained as a mistake. I chose the wording carefully. No emotion, no accusations, only facts, numbers, dates, discrepancies. He hated discrepancies. He started coming home later, speaking less, breathing faster. His calm became torn, like a badly glued report. He checked his email at night, woke up to notifications, deleted histories I had already saved. He started suspecting everyone, except me. That was his final mistake. I watched his system consume him, how he drowned in his own order, how the numbers he worshipped began contradicting each other. I added the final touch. Not a revelation, a hint, a prompt, one he couldn't ignore. After that, he looked at me differently for the first time. Not from above, not calm, from below, with worry. He realized I knew more than I should, but still didn't understand how much. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I recorded the result. It wasn't the end. It was the warm-up. And now he could feel it on his skin. I spoke to her directly. No scene, no witnesses. She tried to stay composed, sat straight, spoke slowly, as if that could erase the facts. I didn't ask why. I told her I knew, and I listed it. Dates, places, messages, times I wasn't home. Her face didn't change at first. Denial, then anger, then fear. She said it just happened, that it wasn't planned, that he was unhappy, that I didn't understand. I stopped her, told her I didn't need explanations. I needed confirmations. I put the phone on the table, opened the folder. She recognized herself immediately. She asked what I wanted. I said, nothing, and it was true. I told her from now on everything would happen without her, without him, that her name was already in the documents, that her silence no longer changed anything. She started to cry. I watched, without involvement. I told her the last thing. She could choose how it ends for her, quietly, or with him. She understood. When I left, I felt lighter, not because I had won, because no one was pretending I didn't know anymore. It wasn't a strike. It was a warning. I didn't wait for the right moment. I made it. Documents, numbers, messages, all in one package. All recipients verified. All facts confirmed. No one could say, mistake. I sent it. Not a scandal. Not a letter to him. Reality hid his perfect image. Silence became louder than any scream. Questions started at work. Colleagues checked documents. Management read the messages. All the numbers he boasted about suddenly didn't add up. He tried to speak. Too slowly. Tried to smile. No one listened. The system he built was falling apart before his eyes. I watched. No emotion, no joy. Just recording. Every crack. Every second of fear. Every mistake he thought he could hide. He checked phones, emails, papers. Every move, panic. Every word, caution. His perfect world crumbled like a house of cards. No one knew I had started this weeks ago. Every step calculated. He was a puppet in my hands. I didn't scream. I didn't laugh. I waited. Until his world stopped being safe. Until he felt that order isn't eternal. Until he felt me. He realized too late that I was never chaos. I was precision. I was the strike. And he felt it. He was sure everything would go back to normal. That it was just a glitch. That I would be quiet again. I watched. Every move, every word. He tried to regain control, tried to smile, justify, stay silent. Nothing worked anymore. All the numbers he loved became evidence. All the emails he hid went public. All promises, empty words. I walked into the meeting, not for a scene, not for excuses. I just sat and watched. Colleagues discussed his reputation. Management checked every document. He tried to explain. No one listened. I knew every step he would take. I knew where his system was cracking. I knew the fear in him as he saw order collapsing. At that moment, I said one sentence. Simple, cold, short. It said everything he had hidden was now known. Every name, every date, every fact. He froze. Not because he was caught, because he realized I controlled the consequences, that I decide what happens to him now. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I was the point that destroys. He realized chaos isn't me. I am precision. I am the strike no one can stop. And his order, his world, his reputation are now my domain. I walked into the empty office. He was already there. No familiar order, no confidence. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Everyone had already done it for me. Numbers, documents, emails. Everyone saw who controlled the situation. Everyone saw who destroys. He looked at me. No smile. No excuses. Panic in his eyes. I walked to the desk. Not for drama. For precision. I laid out the final proof. No shouting. No explanations. Everything was visible. Just facts. Undeniable. He realized too late. No one could save him. His order was my tool. His reputation. Under my control. I felt cold inside. No joy. No anger. Only clarity. I reclaimed my voice. My life. My scale. He thought he could replace me quietly. He was wrong. I left the office. No screams. No tears. No pity. Outside, the world became mine. I was no longer too much. I was everything, and no one could take it away. The revenge was complete. Control restored. I reclaimed the right to be alive. The right to be loud. The right to be too much. He was left alone. With the emptiness he built himself. And he felt it. He understood he would never forget me.